It was something really, really funny that happened in one of the slowest parts of the movie. This guy, I swear to God, we talked about it. He planned it. He had to have planned it because it was just perfectly timed. It gets to a really quiet part in the movie. I mean, like you could probably hear a penny drop from the first row, and we were kind of high up. All you hear is a and Anthony, Haley, myself, and a few people in the row next to me, we were all just dying, laughing silently, probably for like the next 5 to 7 minutes. It was a great moment. I mean, homeboy got his fart out. That's great. But it just happened at such a random time. And like, it was just, wow. What a funny moment. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a long time, like a really, really long time. A little bit longer than I'd like. Better late than never, I guess. Today I have a review for you for a movie that honestly got a 50 to like 52 or 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't understand why, but it is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. As I said, this movie got a 50 to 52%, and I firmly believe it should be well higher than that, and we'll get into it. Directed by Peyton Reed, this movie is the first of the movies in the Phase 5 segment of the MCU. And honestly, it's a pretty decent way to start off Phase 5, man. I was thoroughly impressed. I had saw some negative backlash about this movie. Don't really see all of that. You know, it was really good in my opinion. I do have some issues with it 100%, but we'll get into that later. However, this movie overall was not as bad as some critics made it out to be. As Ant-Man and the Wasp, Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, they brought it again. They had great chemistry between those two. The humor that went into this movie is really, really well done and very well placed. You know, sometimes movies try a little bit too hard with humor, especially with an action movie or even in Marvel movies in general. Sometimes they try a little too hard with the humor, doesn't really land, makes for a stale joke, and then the movie just seems a little bit bland or dry because you tried too hard with that and you didn't focus on some of the real stuff. Oh man, this movie, it hit the nail on the head. It was great to watch, especially after how a lot of things have gone recently. Catherine Newton plays his daughter, Cassie Lang, and if I'm not mistaken, she's definitely the different actress than what played Cassie in Avengers Endgame. You know, I don't really like that they did that, but she did a decent job. I liked her acting. I liked what she did in the movie. As I said, there's some things that we'll get into, which involves a lot of these characters that I'm going to talk about. So, Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas play Janet and Hank Pym. They definitely should have had a little bit more of a role in this movie. And Michelle Pfeiffer's character, Janet, definitely had a little bit more of a role than Hank, which is Michael Douglas's character. And overall, I did like the acting from everybody that was in it. It was a really good movie to watch, especially since it's the first movie, as I said, in Phase 5. Now, Jonathan Majors, that man brought it as Kang the Conqueror. I will say some of the best parts of the movie involve him 100%, because the way how he embodied Kang, his acting was phenomenal. Every scene with him in it had me just hooked. And it was just the way how he portrayed his statements and his emotions, but also he is Kang the Conqueror, one of the big bads that we're being introduced to in Phase 5, which is a big Avengers and Fantastic Four villain in the comics. I think one of the best things about this movie, and one of the major things about this movie, is obviously Kang the Conqueror, but one of the best things about this movie is how Kang the Conqueror was in this movie, how he acted and what he portrayed himself as. I personally would give it a 75, maybe a 77. I firmly believe that it deserves that despite its issues. Some of the slight issues I had were, it is a slower paced movie when it comes to the story, because a lot of what we got was some explanation, which that's fine, because again, this is an introduction into Phase 5. I expected a lot of setup. This is a setup movie, and that's what some people need to realize going into it. Like, yes, when the action was on the screen, it was just spitfire. It was phenomenal to watch. The CGI cinematography was beautiful. But there were a lot more moments that were just explanatory or just talking to set up something, which, yes, I will say is a slight negative because at times the movie felt a little bit slow and that a lot wasn't really going on, especially with a lot of different characters that I wanted to see things going on with. Another slight issue I had was, unfortunately, there were some main characters that, to be honest, if they weren't really in the movie, yes, there would be something that is a little bit lacking, but it really wouldn't be that much of being missed. I don't want to spoil anything at all because this movie actually is really good. I do really like it and I enjoyed watching it. But it just seems that there's certain characters that didn't really have much to do or really offer to the table aside from helping in certain moments. And even those moments, it just would have taken a little longer to do what was done. That's probably the main and only things I have issues with in this movie because, as I said, it's a good setup movie. Now, if this was to end the phase 5 and all that stuff and whatever, I'd be like, okay, what the hell did we get here? For the first movie in phase 5, very impressed, man. Very impressed. And I personally feel like Ant-Man as a hero is like, Ant-Man is the Aquaman of the MCU, in my opinion, just because, and that's not what I think personally, but I feel like that's what some people think because I loved the first 2 Ant-Man movies. Ant-Man, the first one was really good. Ant-Man and the Wasp was really good. Sometimes it just didn't really land with the jokes and everything, but whatever, it was still good. This movie is by no means bad. It is just a good setup movie, and I think when you're going into this, people need to realize that we just ended phase 4 with Wakanda Forever, and now we're starting phase 5 with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, where the jokes are spitfire, and then phase 4 ended with a very solemn movie. So you can't really go into this thinking, all right, well, we need to know everything right now, and we need to get everything sorted right now, and everybody has to do what they need to do in regards to how the continuity goes right now. Like, no. Overall, very good introduction for the MCU in phase 5. I will say the end credit scenes, yes, there is two. The end credit scenes, man, wow. The setup, if you're not watching the TV shows, the Marvel TV shows, you're sleeping, and you're sleeping a lot harder than I was on The Bad Batch and Star Wars Rebels. You're sleeping very hard because you need to watch these Marvel shows on Disney Plus because it is just amazing to see what these writers are doing, and that's all I'm gonna say. 2 after credit scenes. Make sure you stay for both of them. So thank you guys for joining me in this review. I hope you enjoyed your time while you were here. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell next to it so you can get a notification anytime there's a new video. Thanks guys. I hope whenever you go to see this movie, you have a great time with it, just like I did. Alright guys, until the next one.